Hello, welcome to a new episode of Digging Deep, an OKIE811 podcast. I'm your host, Luis, and today I am with a very special guest, Nicole Rhodes, CEO from the Center Phase Energy, and also OKIE811 Board Member for 10 years. Nicole, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Luis. I'm happy to be here today.
Awesome. So tell me about your week so far. We're in holiday season. Have you been busy or you're almost ready? Because next week is like...
Next week's Christmas. So I'm not ready for Christmas. I've got a lot of shopping left to do. It seems like it just keeps coming quicker and quicker every year. So I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, I am too. I haven't got my wife's or kids' presents yet. So I don't know if I should probably do it this weekend.
You should probably do it this weekend. Yeah.
But Nicole, let's get started. Tell us about your experience and how you've been part of OKIE and all this growth the last 10 years.
Yeah, awesome. Great question. So started out with OKIE a little over 10 years ago. At the time, I was working with OG&E, so Oklahoma Gas and Electric, and held a board seat through OG&E. And so that was really my first exposure to OKIE. And we've made just huge changes in the time that I've been here. And it's really exciting to see kind of where we've moved the organization. I left OG&E in 2023 and took a different career opportunity and went over as the CEO of Center Phase Energy. So still same in the electric utility industry. And was fortunate enough to still hold the board seat with OKIE811. So it's really unique. You know, I had that utility perspective before, and now moving over to this side, we do the underground work. So we are an excavator. So being able to be involved with, the OKIE811 board as an excavator and really having that dual knowledge of both sides has been really beneficial.
What are the changes that you've seen from being a specific utility, you're working for a specific utility company like OG&E, and now just kind of seeing overseeing everything?
Right. So I have a whole different perspective from an underground excavator now that I didn't maybe appreciate when I was at OG&E before. And so really better understanding the challenges, great understanding of the law now, because obviously we're the ones that could possibly be doing the damages. And we still had, that when I was at OG&E, our guys did underground work there as well. But just a whole different perspective and being able to see the advancements that we've made and really the partnership of OKIE811 with the excavators, really pushing to make this a win-win for everybody and make sure that from an excavator perspective, we're doing all the right things, we're following all the right safety practices, but also looking at it from how can we continue to educate the industry? How can we continue to move it forward so that holistically we're damaging less lines, we're protecting the safety of everybody, not only the excavators, but the community as well.
How did that message change? I know that as a utility operators, they want to protect their assets. But how do you change that message to actually let people know, hey, it's also about their lives? That's something that me as a liaison, try to highlight more and more and more. Like it's also protecting people's life. How does that message change over the years of hey, making them understand hey, it's about protecting not only the work but also that what you're doing for yourself and the crew that is working with these workers.
Right. So obviously, I'd say from an OG&E perspective, obviously very concerned with protecting the assets. Coming over to the contractor side, concerned about helping to protect the assets, really our guys not hitting those assets, but really it's about keeping our guys safe, right? And if you look at all of the growth and expansion that is going on, even in Oklahoma, right? You've got the AI data centers coming in, you've got a lot of, road infrastructure projects going on. And so really making sure that we educate and that we are doing the things necessary to keep our employees safe. And I have a saying that if you don't get safety right, you don't get anything else right. And that goes into before we start digging, making sure that your locates are valid before you dig. If somebody hasn't located something, make sure that you're hand digging, you're potholing, really working to educate the workforce that we've got precautions in place from a locating perspective. But if that fails, what are the other things you can do to still guarantee your safety and protect the assets?
What are some of the new things that you've seen from last year to this year in terms of growth, especially from OKIE811 and some of the things that we want to do moving forward?
Yeah, I'd say really the greatest growth that I've seen within the OKIE organization is the way that Susan, the executive director, and her team has brought together industry experts and really brought us together to partner. So before it really felt like, you had certain people on this side and other people on this side, and Susan and the team have worked very hard to bring all of that together. The other big area of growth that I'd seen is that within the operating committee, so that is our group of people that support OKIE811 OKIE811 from various companies within the industry, helping to understand what are best practices. Just the growth that I've seen there and the engagement that I've seen from them bringing forward ideas to the board that we can then go forward and advocate with, whether it's with lawmakers, with, companies that own the assets. But I would say that is the most significant and most impactful growth, is how Susan and your guys' whole team has really worked to engage the industry to be better as a whole.
OKIE811 hosts live webinars every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. local time. These webinars cover a wide range of safety topics for both members and excavators. If you attend our live webinar, you will receive a certificate of attendance. And if you aren't able to attend the live webinar, register anyhow to receive a recording of the webinar the following day. To check out our webinar schedule, go to the Education Events page on our website, OKIE811.org. If you have questions or suggestions for topics for future webinars, please contact us at education@OKIE811.org.
So, Nicole, I know that one of the most difficult challenges is keeping excavators and utility operators and locators in one big channel of communication. How has that changed over the years? Has that gotten any better?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the greatest changes that we've seen is positive response. And, as we're still working through that, but as we implemented positive response as an industry, it helps everybody. It helps the locators know if, somebody's been out to locate the lines. It also helps the utility know if they're subcontracting out their locating, how that's performing. And with that positive response, you really have truly that positive response for the excavator to know if somebody's been out here or not. And so positive response helps to protect the locators,
Yes.
helps to protect the excavators, and helps to protect the asset owners. And so I'd say that's one of the biggest changes that I've seen that has really, I think, moved us in the right direction. Obviously, it's been a challenge getting everybody on board with that, helping everybody understand what that means. But I think that's been a huge, huge improvement.
Positive response was added not too long ago, right? Into
That is
the law.
correct. I can't remember. It's been maybe a couple years now
Okay.
that it was put into the law, and I think huge changes there. I think some of the other great things, OKIE does a great job with the outreach to, the communities, the engagement that we've got from the excavators, but also from the locators. So we have, locators that participate in the operating committee and that, represent on our board. And so really being able to decipher and disseminate that communication with all of those parties and then let them go out and, continue to communicate with their teams. I think we've seen some positive changes there as well.
And it's part of both excavators and utility operators to check positive response. It's part of their law. Both of them.
That is correct.
One of them have to put the positive response, which is the locator or utility operator, sorry.
Correct.
And the excavator has part of the responsibility to check that positive response.
That is correct.
And also to
confirm that.
double check on the work site that matches the positive response.
That is correct. So the the excavators have a responsibility to make sure that the lines are marked.
Yes.
So even if you have a positive response and you get out there, you still need to check, right? Because what you don't want to do is start digging and hit something that potentially, causes a safety issue. And I mean, these can be life-threatening safety issues.
Yes.
And so it is critical.
And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I got that positive response, I'm good to go. And then, well, no, nothing has been marked yet. You still have to wait.
That is
That's why you have to wait
correct.
the 48 hours. If not, call again, second notice, third notice.
Correct.
So I got that in my head.
You've got that down, yeah. The other things that OKIE811 does well is, the Safety Day education.
Safety days, yes.
And, really educating the excavators and others that participate in those. So their outreach has just significantly improved, and this team's done great things over the last several years to really move our industry forward. And I'd say, just the interactions with other 811s across the United States, we have a top-tier 811 organization here that really takes this serious and is very, very passionate about
That's
it.
great. How do you often meet with other members of board of directors from other 811s?
Yeah, so I don't meet a lot with other ones, but we work. So our company, we've got a family of companies, 6 companies across multiple states. So I've got a company in Alabama, Maryland, Texas. And so we've got familiarity with how they operate and some of the challenges that some of our other businesses have. So getting to see that even more solidifies, just the things we're doing here at OKIE811 are great.
I have another big question for you. We'll talk about one of the challenges of the communication, right? But also, as part of the communication is a language barrier in this industry. we know a important group that is Hispanic group that works in this industry. How do you see that evolving and getting better now that, for example, I'm here now with OKIE doing the efforts of outreach in Spanish? That's so important, and the language barrier is so difficult sometimes to kind of clear that. I guess that great area, right?
Yep, absolutely. So great point. We were super excited to bring you on board, Luis, and being able to have that bilingual person that can help with that. Obviously, a lot of we do have a very diverse workforce. We have a large Hispanic workforce. And so being able to get the trainings in Spanish, being able to get, whether that's video trainings, whether that's a safety day, we didn't have those, not even 5 years ago, I think, with OKIE811. And so lots of progress there in trying to connect with the workforce. And I think we're seeing the positive outcomes of that. And so again, excited to have you here. We look super forward to the things that you're going to bring to this and continue to help us reach the Hispanic population.
No, I appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here. I know sometimes with this group is just a lot of factors that out of our hands, right? And we have to move around with the current and the waves and just kind of see, okay, where do we meet them? Where's the best place for them to engage them? Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes it's just, to me, that's probably the main challenge right now is just to see, okay, I need to understand, because one thing about Hispanics is that we have Mexicans, Venezuelans, Puerto Ricans, so they have a little bit of different backgrounds, right?
Correct.
So understanding that is also very important.
Well, and the cultures are very different too.
And
so being able to have somebody that can relate to that and help us connect, I think that's a piece that we were missing here before. And so, we would write the materials and somebody would translate it for us, but that is very different than having somebody that understands the culture, understands the language, and understands some of those barriers to help us close those gaps.
What are you looking for 2026?
Oh, man. Well, so, I think as we've got, we had a board meeting, maybe a month or so ago, if it was that. And, very exciting, the things that we have on the horizon. I think what I'm most looking forward to is continuing to work to bring everybody together on the same page. And that is absolutely the toughest challenge. And so I think we've got some good things in process, also looking at how do we continue to educate the public. One of our greatest challenges is with, private lines and homeowners and really being able to educate, homeowners or businesses that have private lines. I don't think everybody understands that it's their responsibility to locate private lines. Mm-hmm. And so, when we're doing construction and with just all the infrastructure that is coming to our state, what can we do to continue to educate the public and homeowners and business owners, landowners on, here's where we need your help, here's where we need your partnership, help us locate the private lines, and we'll see less damage across the board as well.
We actually met today with the people from the Mirror Garden.
Okay.
And Cis Hotel to see if we can kind of partner and do some classes about people that do gardening and landscaping.
Yes.
And see if we can find a way that we can, private line and all that kind of stuff. So we might be able to, a chance there to, start educating more about private lines.
Great. And I think the other thing we educate about is don't plant trees under electric utility lines. That's always a huge challenge for utilities. And then, and it's a tough situation because you can't have the trees in the lines and homeowners or people are upset when you have to cut their trees and they don't understand it. But at a whole, all we care about is safety. We care about protecting the public. We care about protecting, company employees, the excavators, and so everything is in the spirit of safety that we do. But
and I think, Nicole, is I think homeowners make assumptions. They think they know where their underground lines are.
Right.
And it's just I know my house better than anybody, and then boom, first thing they do is
hit the line.
Hit the line.
Hit the line.
Yeah, white lining, best digging practice for that, for sure.
Absolutely. And when you think about how much we've evolved from a technology standpoint, right? We've got fiber underground now.
Yeah, fiber's another.
And that's an expensive line to hit. And so it is very important that, homeowners and others understand that, because that's obviously a huge expense to them that they've not planned for. And so I always say, call before you dig, make our plug here. But, there's a lot of implications. There's safety implications, there's financial implications. And so we're really here to serve a mission of protecting people.
Yeah, and liability is always a great area.
It is.
Right? When it comes to who hit the line or who's going to pay for it. So
It is. And so you always have to defer back to the law, right? And the law says that, private lines the homeowners or whoever owns the private lines are responsible for locating them. And that's tough because not a lot of people understand that.
Nicole, before we go, is there anything you want to add to this amazing episode of our podcast before we go?
Well, I appreciate you having me here today, Luis. This organization's a great organization. I'd encourage all of you guys that maybe do excavating work, get engaged. There's great trainings that are free. There's certifications that are free. Some additional things that went into the law is around the training that's required if you have employees that hit underground lines. And, for us, I always encourage, be proactive. Get your employees that training before you hit the lines. But OKIE811 offers a lot of free services.
And in Spanish, too.
And in Spanish. Thank you, Luis. To help excavators, utility partners, business owners, homeowners. And so, I just encourage you guys to get engaged, learn more about OKIE811 and how they can better serve you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Luis.
Well, until next time, and dig smart, dig safe.